Hello, everybody. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to get on. And first off, I just want to tell you the internet's a little glitchy on my end, so you may see my real face sometimes and you may see my photos sometimes. I just want to make sure people are hearing us okay. So as you come on, if you could say hello, hi, or that you can hear me all right. I'd really appreciate it. So we're just going to give everyone a moment to get on here. And I know this is, if you're not watching this live, you'll get to see the replay of this coming out tomorrow. And I want to take time to introduce our special guest is Issa Herrera. She's a physical therapist, certified strength and conditioning specialist, and an expert in integrative pelvic floor therapies in the field of women's health, and is the author of 5 books, 4 of which are on the topic of pelvic health. It has pioneered the use of integrative modalities like Maya abdominal massage, low level laser therapy, sound healing, and Andean energy techniques with traditional evidence based physical therapy in ways that had never been done. She has helped over 14,000 women to heal completely from sexual pain, incontinence, and other lady part problems without meds, surgery, and injections. So, welcome, Issa. So, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me, Laura. So excited. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a huge topic, I think. I have worked with thousands of women over the years, and this isn't my specialty. And when I came across you, I knew I had to have you on here to talk about this because, so many women have this issue with pelvic pain, vaginal dryness, prolapse, and the therapies they've tried have failed. So, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience in this area and how you may be different than, say, the traditional kinds of therapies that women have tried?
Well, thank you for having me on, first of all. And that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I think one of the most important things that we can really think about when it comes to pelvic health is thinking about ourselves in a more macroscopic level, right? I think that it becomes too microscopic and we start to think that we're just all about the vagina. And that's probably something that hinders a lot of women's well-being. I have a little bit of an echo here. Um, so, so what I'm getting, just getting a little bit flustered here. But the most important thing I think is to understand that we're really connected to the pelvic floor in a very dynamic way. That the first line of defense for leaking, prolapse, sexual pain, or any lady parts problem is always going to be traditional natural medicine. This is even in the literature, this is in the research. Biofeedback works very well, intravaginal massages work very well. I've treated thousands of women who've resorted to doing Western medicine, and what I found um, with their recoveries and what happened to them is quite appalling. And
Yeah.
so, my recommendation is always that you start with understanding your unique anatomy and understanding how to heal naturally first with holistic natural lifestyle medicine, and but most of the time it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think that's very true that it's just like we're really failing in this area of really helping women and trying to figure out, the approach to how to first just understand your anatomy, like you said, and how it's working and how to support that and so forth. And, usually when people go into these areas, they've gone there because they have a history. Either they saw in women that they were really frustrated with what was going on with them, or they've had that history in themselves. And is that true in your case?
I think what happens, I mean, with me, of course, I went on my own personal doctor roadshow and I saw a slew of doctors who had nothing to offer me except injections into my vaginal walls, antidepressants, and painkillers. Because let's face it, the average doctor is not well trained in pelvic health or even how to assess the pelvic floor muscles. So they resort to what they know baths, which is basically band-aid solutions, right? One pill for one problem.
Right.
When I wised up, and as a physical therapist, it's really interesting. I had no training in pelvic floor work in PT school. This happened to me when I had my baby, and I had a lot of trauma in the pelvis. And every time I went back to my doctor, oh, this is a normal part of motherhood. This is a normal part of recovery. You're going to get better. And every time I went back, he would say the same thing, do more Kegels. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm a body worker. I'm very educated on the physicality of different kinds of conditions, pain conditions.
Hmm.
All I really need to do is apply the principles to the pelvic floor. And that's what I did. That was my big aha moment. I'm like, oh, I get it. It's a muscle like every other muscle in the body. It's not any different, right?
Yeah.
It's just that it's so shrouded in shame and trauma, the collective trauma of what women have gone through, and the embarrassment. And so women feel that because, and there's a whole nother um, sort of myth that just because it's common makes it normal, right? And it makes it that we should accept it as the way things are. But honestly, no, you don't have to accept leaky. You don't have to accept poor sexual function or anything along those lines, because once you know what to do with yourself, and once you know how to care for yourself properly, and I'm going to cover that all in the master class. So I'm inviting everybody to the master class for that. Um, then you get an awakening. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I can take care of this by myself in the privacy of my own home. How wonderful is that?
Yeah. It's really, I think, encouraging to a lot of women because they're really, really frustrated thinking that there aren't any answers. And I
Right.
know you are offering that masterclass coming up, and which I think is great, that free masterclass to women. And I did just put that offer up for them so that they can see that and get signed up for that as well. Because my guess is in that class, you're going to be going into things in a lot more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I spent a big time of the class really doing, and I really, what I'm going to bring to this master class is different things about like whether Kegels are right for you, what type of vagina you have, what you should be doing, and a bunch of other different things. And then those who want to go deeper will follow me and join me in my Summer of Healing, which is a program that I do once a year. So that's pretty incredible. But nevertheless, the master class is fantastic. I just bring my A game to that. And my thing now, I'm still writing it up. So I haven't finished with it because, it's a process. Writing a master class it takes me weeks and weeks to get that together. It seems really easy when you go there. You're like, oh, this is so simple, right? But it's actually not at all.
Yeah, I mean, any of this stuff, it really takes a lot of knowledge, education, and understanding of how to share these things with women in a way that makes sense that they a lot of times maybe haven't even heard before. Because you're right. I think that the standard is either you get injections, you get some sort of procedure, or you do the Kegels, or you wear, if you have incontinence, then they say, well, you can wear Depends, or you can take a medication that dries you up in other ways. And there really aren't a lot of answers when those aren't a solution. It's really trying to figure out what's going on and how you can manage your symptoms yourself, I would imagine.
No, totally. And I think the biggest problem is that when it comes to pelvic health, um, there's no research on it, first of all.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misinformation, right? So one of the things that I've dedicated my life to is clearing up these misconceptions and these myths about pelvic floor health and about women's health in general. And what happens is we start to believe because we get desperate, we get hopeless.
Hmm.
We want a solution for this. Sometimes we feel disconnected from our partners. Sometimes we feel like there's something very wrong with us when we're actually dealing with a muscle that needs to be strengthened, that needs to be flexible, that needs to be supple. Maybe we're dealing with poor body mechanics. Maybe we're dealing with the surgery that we haven't dealt with the scar tissue. So there's multi layers to how you approach pelvic health. And so, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through different layers, and I approach public health from a mind body perspective, right? Because we can't continue to think of ourselves as just a vagina, just vaginal issues, because it's so intimately connected to your upper body and your lower body that you really almost got to take everything into consideration. And sometimes it's the easiest things that will fix a problem like this, like how you sit, how you move your body, how you go to the bathroom.
Mm. And do you go into a lot of that in your master class?
100%. When by the time everybody leaves, they're gonna have tangible tools on what to do to that they can use at home immediately. And in the masterclass, it's very interactive. So what I do with that is as I'm explaining it, we're doing it as well. So it's like
Wow.
you're getting feedback right away.
Yeah. And they're able to kind of know, oh, you know, to really kind of get connected with themselves, because this is I think a huge epidemic that is not talked about, not addressed, either from the standpoint of the healthcare provider when the woman goes in with that complaint and they're not getting the answers, or they're given something real quick, or the woman's really suffering in silence and she isn't talking about it.
And the crazy part is the women are actually in the majority. They're not in the minority,
Yeah.
right? 30 million women, 1 out of 3 suffering from chronic sexual pain. It's a huge number. It's a majority. 49% of older women with prolapse is a majority. You know, 50% women leaking, that's a majority. But what happens is we don't talk about it. And the moment that we can share, the moment that we can own it, the moment that we can say, yes, I suffer, is the moment that we can free ourselves.
Wow. So, with these women that you have helped over the years, have you found that it's more like identifiable one problem versus another, or is it kind of all over the board of what's going on with women as far as having any kind of pelvic floor dysfunction?
I mean, it could be all over the gamut. Sometimes it can be due to simply a birth or scar tissue in the pelvis that hasn't been resolved. If there's scar tissue, and I'm going to go into this in the masterclass and I'll give a technique for that. If there's scar tissue and there's been trauma in the pelvis, we have to address it. Because if you don't address it, then you do Kegels, they're going to fail. And you're
Mm-hmm.
going to think it's going to fail, and then you're going to go out and get a surgery, which you
Mm-hmm.
don't need, right? Sometimes it can be things like um, a cesarean, or it can be things like a back surgery, or even a hip replacement surgery. I
Yeah.
find a lot of issues with that population. Sometimes it's simply a hormonal issue as you go through the change. The women who are in my community are over 50, 50 to 96. And sometimes we need a little bit more power during that time, but we don't know how to do it, or it's never been taught, because sometimes you may think that you're really loose and flexible in the pelvic floor, but in reality, what I find is the women are too tight, right?
Mm-hmm.
They they're not as they're not as loose as they think, and I think that's the media playing a head game on us, thinking that every woman has to have a tight vagina. But tight is not good. Strong is good, flexible is good, but tight is not good. Tight
Yeah.
gives you more dysfunction. Tight gives you weaker orgasms. Tight can make you go to the bathroom more often. So as women, we need to first start with our heads and start to think that maybe I need to get out of this head to think that I have to do a million Kegels, and that's going to bring me to my resolution, when we're not really thinking about the full womanhood and we're focusing microscopically.
Yeah, and see, that's where, people like me, given that's not my expertise, it was the standard kind of things. Well, just try to do the Kegel exercises, do them while you're driving down the, road, and or that, we give them like vaginal estrogen, things like that. And when they're still having pain, or they're not having an orgasm and those kinds of things, sometimes it's even they have like I think nerve damage,
Yeah.
going on, and then that becomes a complicated issue where they'll go to special clinics like vulvodynia clinics, which is
Hmm.
for the pain and so forth, and still they come back away frustrated, like that didn't help, that
Yeah.
nobody had anything else to offer them. And I think that the fact that you're doing this free masterclass for women is a huge service. And I think it's very important that women attend that, because I think you're going to give them information they've never heard before, or even realize that there was other things that can be done to help
Oh,
that.
100%. I'm glad you bring that up because the thing what happens with women with vulvodynia, dyspareunia, vaginismus, all these chronic pelvic pain issues is that it's a physical issue. Pelvic pain is not a psychological disorder. It's
Mm,
not an emotional disorder, and we're not hysterical. This is a real
yeah.
problem within the muscles, and there's trigger points and spasms that need to be addressed. But when they go to these clinics, it's not a very well trained individual, which is why women cannot outsource this anymore, especially with the changing times. And now these times have even put upon us more of the importance of how we have to awaken our inner doctor. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the master class, I usually stay around for about 2 hours and I answer everyone's question. So
Wow.
that's the best part for me because it's interactive and I love it. And I give healing recipes and we just go on and on and on. And we, this, I do 4 life master classes, so it's a lot. But every single one of them has a Q&A at the end. I hold all the questions to the end. Otherwise, we never get through anything. And then I just go and we explore so many things. And then
Wow.
I help a little bit further. And then those who want to continue their journey will continue their journey with me. And those who don't, well, they're going to have a beautiful experience and they're going to learn a lot about their bodies. And I think that right now that's the requirement. And last year, I had 50,000 women sign up.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a big movement. I call it the pelvic revolution. I'm not sure about this year because, I don't know, this whole thing has really changed everything. So we'll see what happens, but it's my hope that I get as many coming and learning about their divine femininity and their womanhood so they know that there's always hope, right? That you know.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that you had that many women show up for that just tells you how important this is and what a big topic this is, for women and
Mm.
stuff. And I did also put up somebody said that the link didn't seem to be working. So I did put up another link there, that should get them to the masterclass to get registered
Yeah.
as well. And the fact that you had that many show up, I can't imagine how long, and you stayed for every
It was
question. Like that
yeah.
had been hours.
It was hours. It was about, well, the master class is about, an hour. I try not to make it longer than that because then it just becomes information overload. But
Yeah.
then my favorite part is at the end when we all get together as a collective and we have a discussion. We have a sisterhood circle. And I
Yeah.
just sit there and I answer. I answer till I can't answer anymore and then right before my voice gives out, because then the next day I do it again. And then the next day I do it again and then I do it 3 times and it's one of the ways that I can get the message out there. My mission has always been to help 1 million women heal from pelvic floor dysfunction. And one of the ways that I do it is through my master classes, through my blogs, through my books, through interviews like this, you know. And it's something that, when I was going through my own problems and I was suffering as much as I did, there was no one doing this. And it was really heartbreaking. It was, and I don't want women to go through that. It's not necessary. It really
Yeah.
isn't.
It is heartbreaking. And the fact that when I came across you and I thought, oh my gosh, I have to talk to her, because I'm thinking this is an area where I feel like I can't help women on that, because that isn't my expertise. Or that they've come to me and they've said the things, they've been to all that physical therapy and tried all the things that conventional medicine can provide them, and they still don't have that relief. So that just that you had a different approach, I thought was amazing and such a needed service to women. And, I think women sometimes don't know what the right question maybe is to ask when they're seeking help, because it's hard to describe maybe what's going on. They just know something's not right down in their lady parts, as you put it.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to, when you start this journey, to actually work with somebody who knows what they're doing and to go to a physician who is specialized in this area. I think too many times we bring it to our OBGYN, we bring it to
Hmm.
our gynecologist, we bring it to our internist, we bring it to our nurse practitioner, and they just don't, they're not trained in it. So it's
No.
not their fault. They just don't know, although they should. Because if you're working with women, you have to have some sort of an idea how to make an informed referral.
Right.
So I think that the moment is now for women to take back their own health and their own power. And that's
Abs-
as important, so that when you go meet the doctor, you're having a very intelligent conversation with them, right? You're on the same level. The doctor is not here and you're here, right? So you want to
mm,
come in at the same level, but if you don't know your own anatomy, if you don't know anything about anything, how are you going to have this dialogue? You're going to sit there and you're just going to wait for it to be fed to you. And that's how we get into trouble. And that's how we get into trouble with getting these surgeries that don't work, that the FDA
yeah.
has even declared, don't do them. And yet they're still being done.
Right. And then you have the added side effect of potential added scar tissue when you have different surgeries done as well.
And the scar tissue is very difficult to deal with. Not
Right.
impossible, but
Yeah.
difficult. So we don't want to go there if we don't have to.
Yeah, definitely. So, if anybody has any questions, we just have a few minutes left here, but can you tell us when this master class is?
Sure, the masterclass is June 17, 18, and 19. I hope I got those dates right. Wednesday, Thursday, and
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
The two of them. When you go there, you're gonna have a choice to pick to the one that you attend. As it sells out, we start to block them off. Like sometimes we have like 15,000 women for one mouth. It's insane. So
Wow.
my tech team gets nervous, and a bunch of men, they're like, "Ah!" So I'm like, all right, shut it off. And then we close it out. We say sold out. We go to the next one, sold out. And that's how it works.
Yeah. Wow. That's really amazing. And during those master class, so I'm sure you're providing with a lot of different information and techniques. And when you're doing that, is that something that they will then take away from that? That's something they can continue to apply following the class? Because I think sometimes people wonder, okay, what do I do now? And maybe that's kind of your next step from the master class, is taking them on that journey.
No, I mean they have actionable steps right there. They get an anatomy workbook. They also get a workbook that I'm developing that you can follow along with the master class, and you get actionable steps. So you leave there with something concrete. I don't like doing master classes where it's a lot of fluff. I've attended a lot of them,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right,
what a waste of time. I don't want to waste people's times. So
right,
I'm really diligent about giving the information. Of course, you have to apply it. You have to do it. You have to own it. And then what I do at the master class is I open up enrollment for my program. That's limited as well. So
mm-hmm,
whoever wants to join that can continue to go deeper and further into the information. But you do get concrete. There's something about. I mean, I've attended hundreds and hundreds of master classes because I'm always like trying to see like where's the best one. How do you provide the information? How do you bring value? You gotta bring
right,
value. So when I give somebody an hour of my time, they better make it worthwhile. That's an hour of
right,
my day. I'm a very busy person. So
right,
I took that to heart. And so my masterclass is very actionable, very concrete. Some people may know the information already. And so it's reinforced. Some people, they're going to be blown away. And then those who stay to the end, we go into the Q&A, which my Q&As are epic, epic. And that's when I do healing hot seats. That's when I give recipes. That's when you bring your pencil, you write stuff down.
wow. This is invaluable. I think the value that you're giving in that master class is crazy good. I mean, I can't believe all that you're offering them.
Yeah, it's part of my mission. Is For me, it's not just about getting people to enroll in my program. Of course, if that happens, fantastic. I welcome everybody, but honestly, you got to do the right thing for the women.
Right.
And for
Right.
too long, women have been marginalized. They've been discriminated against. They've been put in the corner. And so this is only a beginning. I can't solve everyone's problems because that would be unrealistic. But I can give you enough to awaken within you what's always been there, which is your inner healer and
Yeah.
your inner knowing. Because that's really what it's about. Listening to our intuition, going inward, so that when we do something to our bodies, we ask ourselves, is this good for our body? Is this working for me? Is this program something that's going to help me? Right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, it's kind of like, yeah, I'd like to see everybody just get something valuable out of it. And so I really try my hardest to provide that. But it's not realistic if you go there and you think I'm going to solve all your problems because that's a little bit too much. I have programs that solve problems for the long term with great success. But this masterclass is to awaken or to plant a seed within you about the possibility of what your life can be when you're
Yeah.
no longer under duress and stress and being anxious and ashamed of your lady parts because they're not functioning well and because no one actually ever showed you the way. And so it's not our fault, right? For so long this information hasn't even been taught to us. It's always done to us.
Mm. Boy,
And so
that's
now the right?
yeah, absolutely. We do have one question from Julie. She's asking, how long is the class each of the days? So it's three options to take the class. You can pick a day, correct? It's not
Yeah,
three
pick a
days
day.
long.
No, it's not 3 days long. I would never do that. I don't have time for that. It's a 1 hour masterclass with a live Q&A. And it probably depends if you want to stay for the whole thing, but sometimes it runs 3 hours. But the masterclass itself is an hour, right? And then the Q, if you have a question, you can pre-submit it when you sign up. I get pre-submitted questions. Last time I had 500 questions.
Oh
That
my
was a
gosh.
that was a lot. It was a lot. I couldn't handle it, so I had to answer them in groups according to condition. And that's how I can handle that because that was a lot. I didn't expect that, so I'm hoping that if we get that many, I always do my best to answer as many as possible. Sometimes I'll send an individual video if I don't get to answer a particular topic or question on the masterclass that
Hmm.
stands in my brain, and I'm like, oh, I didn't cover that. I should send this individual video. So there's many different ways for you to get the help that you need in the masterclass, in the Q&A, and beyond if you want to enroll in my program.
Okay. And Julie's also asking what time is it those
Oh,
days? Is there
it's
an option?
Eastern time. Yeah, you're gonna see everything at the link when you sign up. You can choose. I
Okay.
think third. I don't even know when it is because I've been going all day. I've been doing interviews all day. So it's Wednesday at 8, Thursday at 8, and Friday at 1 p.m. because we have a lot of Europeans.
Mm,
Europeans love my work. We have Europeans in my classes because they can't get access to this work. In many places there's desert, there's no PTs, so they
yeah.
really want access to this work. So we have a lot of Europeans, and they always get upset with me because I never have one in the afternoon. So this time I put one in the afternoon.
Hmm. And those are Eastern times,
Yeah,
correct?
those are all Eastern times. After you put the kids to bed. Hopefully they're in bed. And my daughter has done her homework. Everything revolves around my daughter's schedule. Lunches, enrollment, you know what I mean? I don't make a move. I look at her schedule and then I fit everything around her schedule. And this is right after her exams. So I will not be interfering with her life.
Yeah, that's very important because that comes first. And I cannot tell you how important. Well, you know how important this subject is because I've seen enough women over the years to know how important this subject is and how we are failing women in this area.
Oh,
And you are right that you need to have somebody that knows what they're doing because I can guess if they're not doing things the right way or given the right tools, it could make matters worse.
yeah, it can make matters worse, but even worse than that, it infects women with hopelessness.
Yeah.
And it affects them with this. this like sense of they're broken, like nothing's ever going to get better. And I think that that's worse sometimes than the condition, because then they're trapped
Yeah.
in this
Wow.
hopelessness.
Yeah, and we want them to have hope, and you're giving them hope. And I know how passionate and what a mission this is for you. And the fact that you're bringing this master class to them for free, which you could charge really a lot of money for because of the
Yeah.
value that you're providing them and the information and the tools that they're going to be able to walk away from is huge. And so I would encourage everyone listening to this live, and I'm sorry about my glitchy techie stuff today. You never know with the internet, but I do
Oh,
have the link up there for, please click on that. And I will send out an email tomorrow with the replay and the link to sign up if you're listening to this, not listening to this live. Is there anything else you want to share with the ladies that are listening now or would be listening to the replay?
sure. I think one of the things that I like to share is that, you're your own doctor. You have the ability to listen to the messages of your body and take right action. And that trusting yourself is probably one of the most important things that you can do.
Oh, absolutely. I agree
Hmm.
with you completely. We're the masters of our own bodies.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Issa, for being on here. I know you have a busy schedule, and I know that the women listening or who will be listening to the replay also really appreciate this because just from the turnout that you've had from your previous master class, we know what a huge topic this is and how women are being underserved in this area. And it's something that they deserve to have answers and solutions for, and you're providing it to them.
And thank you so much for this opportunity to, you know, talk to the women in your community. I'm really, really grateful. Thank you, Laura.
Well, I want to thank you and wish you the best with the master class. I know it'll be a
Thank
great
you.
success.
I'm like, oh, all right, let's just do it now.
Yeah, you're ready. All right. Well, thank you and take care.
Thank you, everyone. All my
All right.
love to everyone.
All right. Bye.